Steve, you've been around college sports a lot, and sometimes there's a situation where you have to fire someone for kind of the good of the program and the good for everyone else. And when Matt Patricia walked out the door after last season, that was really the magic elixir, that and bringing in Bill O'Brien. And it's just really a fresh start for everybody. Mac Jones and Matt Patricia didn't get along because Mac Jones knew that Matt Patricia was a village idiot. This was a guy who shouldn't have been in the role that he was in. He's the dude who was clapping at media people about sit down and present yourself a certain way when you're at a press conference. Like, the guy's just an annoying dude for as smart as he is. And, hey, there were times where Mac Jones snapped. Steve, I look at it this way. If the worst thing Mac Jones did was wave off an idiot, I can live with that. It makes me realize that while he sounds like a robot, he isn't a robot. He really is a competitor. Bill O'Brien has kind of changed everything. He's trusted here. And the biggest thing that I think Bill Belichick has done is gotten out of the way, Steve. He was very much in the way last year, especially with putting Matt Patricia in that role. This year, he's kind of turned it over to Bill O'Brien and gone back to sort of coaching everything that he likes to watch. He's back in the role that he's used to.
And that's kind of the amazing part of all of this to me, Andy, is that, we know that Bill O'Brien and Josh McDaniels ain't the greatest head coaches, but we've seen them be able to coach offense, and now we've got this one weird year where we have to try to explain why the hell Matt Patricia was an offensive coordinator in the first place, or maybe it was Joe Judge, who really even knows. What was the deal with that entire situation? Because it seemed weird from the start, and then it never worked at all.
Honestly, it was the arrogance of Bill Belichick in thinking that he didn't need to go steal Bill O'Brien from Alabama. I think there was a little bit of old boyism where it's, hey, don't take my guy, just wait a year. Everybody knew Bill O'Brien wanted to get back to New England. There's a lot of family reasons that Bill O'Brien really wants to be in this region, and it would have been a perfect fit. And the Patriots could have doubled his money if they wanted to really get him from Alabama. So I think Belichick didn't want to get in the way of Nick Saban, and then it became, well, you know what? We can just put anybody in there. Here's Matt Patricia, who old lady Ford is paying him a bunch of money to be there and be the offensive line coach and an offensive consultant who just happened to be calling all the plays. It was insane. But Bill Belichick's arrogance made him think they could pull it off. And in all honesty, Steve, you know what happened out there in Las Vegas last year. Ramondre Stevenson fumbles at the goal line against Cincinnati at home with all the momentum. They were like this close to like pulling it off and actually maybe being 9-7 or whatever and making the playoffs with that guy calling plays. It's one of the most insane things I've ever been around because that guy isn't qualified to run the Gravitron at the county fair.
All right, Andy Gresh, WEEI. We're talking about the Patriots getting ready for the season. Pats and Raiders will meet up during the regular season. So the win total number, it sounds like you're sort of bullish on the Patriots bouncing back and having a little better season from a win total standpoint. It's 7.5 out here. It's I think minus 115 both ways. One, you want to go over, and two, is the number crazy? Like, I wonder what the number is now that sports gambling is a little more widespread around New England. Is it crazy there?
It is. Massachusetts' handle has been absolutely massive.
Okay.
The tax money that has come in is even more than they could have imagined. The state of Rhode Island beat Massachusetts to the punch, and yet they've kind of fallen behind just because of the enormity of the amount of people. People don't realize how big a state that Massachusetts really is. That said, there are a lot of people that are bullish on the Patriots to go over on the 7.5. I have them as a 10-win team this year. I'm not as big on Miami as other people are. The Jets still have to prove it. Anybody who's watched Hard Knocks has realized who in the world is Robert Saleh? To me, that's a guy who's just ready to screw it up for the next big-name coach. They'll throw massive money at to try to fix it for 1 year with Aaron Rodgers. But that said, Patriots still have a lot of work to do offensively to get to where they need to be. I'll tell you the one thing, Steve, that I'm really bullish on is Mac Jones over 19.5 touchdowns. I don't know if he'll get to 30, but Bill O'Brien is going to bring him back. I actually saw Mac Jones today. We were doing our show inside Gillette Stadium, and Mac kind of poked his head in the studio, and there's kind of a running joke about being on Mac Island out here. And I jokingly said to him, we're on Mac Island, and he goes, y'all better stay there. The swag and the confidence is back after all of the mess that was Matt Patricia last season.
Do you like Zeke Elliott being added, and what does it do for the aforementioned Ramondre Stevenson, who, by the way, is a Vegas guy. He's a hometown hero.
I think Ramondre is going to have a massive year. Look, he could still have 1,800 total yards. He had 1,000 yards last year. No reason to think he couldn't get to 1,200 this season. And if he catches 500 yards worth of balls, that's a hell of a season. So I'm sneaky bullish on Ramondre in fantasy. And look, my biggest worry is Zeke's attitude. If his attitude is of this is where I'm at in my career, I'm here to help, and he kind of goes along to get along, he'll get his touches, get his carries, and it'll happen for him. If he thinks he's the guy who's going to stand on the sideline and look at Bill Belichick and say, feed me, that stuff don't play with that guy. Everybody has proven it over the years. He'll tolerate a little bit, but don't push it. So if Zeke is in the right mindset, I think those guys could be really good. The former offensive line coach, Dante Scarnecchia, was on our show and said he thinks that's a big-time 1-2 punch because you can put them on the field at any time, and they can operate first, second, or third down. And even just that alone, there aren't a lot of teams that do that. When they go to the third down back, you kind of know the third down back is in the game.
And if you follow any football nerd on Twitter, your favorite player among the football nerds has to be top 5 for Kendrick Bourne coming into this year. Is the optimism as high around there as it is among the Twitter nerd community?
Yes, absolutely. That's a guy who is mainly swagger. And last year he had none of it. And basically they sat him down. I think he only had like a 42% usage rate all season, which, come on, you got to get that guy on the field. He may not be great, but 42% is just ridiculous. And, you know, it's almost like the coaching staff and Bill Belichick, at times it was more important to prove the point of don't question us as a staff, regardless of what's going on, than it was let's get the guys on the field who are definitely going to help to win. So, yeah, I'm very bullish on Kendrick Bourne. He's been a different guy in training camp. Last year, it took about a week and a half, and he was hanging his head. He wasn't happy. Now, that guy's back to being normal, and I'm sure you saw the chain that he gave Matt Judon. Oh, my God. I mean, that thing, I don't know how much it costs. I have no idea about jewelry. I bought a ring for 2 wives, and that's it. But I think Judon joked it was like $500,000 or something crazy like that. I have no idea, but it was massive.
Andy Gresh is with Cofield. Adam Candy is here. Damon as well. It's ESPN Las Vegas, ESPN Reno. We're doing a Patriots preview as the Raiders are set to play the Patriots this season. We will close on this, though, because I did see, I think you were at UFC, and the Sean O'Malley fight was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about that whole deal. And I also wanted to ask you, because I saw you, I don't know what it was just like, effing UFC is awesome. They should be in Boston more often.
Well, they should be, Steve, but, I started to think about it. And listen, I'm a wrestling fan, too. And if you think about how WWE, for example, tours, there are very few global brands. Like, the Globetrotters might go to London, but if they have a European tour, it's not like what those two brands have the ability to do. Now, 5 years might be a little ridiculous. Throw us a fight night, for God's sake. Yeah. People will show up. But it was weird coming out of COVID, and I'm hoping that Boston gets back in the rotation more, Steve. Look, I got a 21 and 18-year-old. My stepkids, they're into it. I have completely gotten hooked into it. And the roar for Sean O'Malley and the amount of 18 to 25-year-old men that were at this fight that were going nuts when O'Malley won the way he did, it was the loudest pop I've ever heard in the Garden. I was there with Nathan Horton and that whole, overtime experience during the Stanley Cup playoffs and all that stuff.
Wow.
I've been there for a couple of NBA finals, but good Lord. It was something, the way people went nuts for O'Malley. We were staying in a hotel right across the street. I tapped out by 2 a.m. My kids ended up going downstairs, and I think O'Malley left about 3:30 in the morning, and there was a crowd of people waiting outside of TD Garden to cheer that guy leaving the arena.
Andy, you're the best. I appreciate you doing the spot on short notice. Thank you so much.
Steve, anytime, friend. Talk to you soon.
There he is, Andy Gresh.